12 years ago, the largest industrial man-made disaster in Russia occurred. The accident at the Sayano-Shushenskaya hydroelectric power plant. The event took the lives of 75 people, caused environmental and economic damage, involved huge human resources to carry out rescue operations and eliminate the consequences, and it took 5 years to fully restore the hydroelectric plant. The station before the tragedy, preconditions for the accident. The Sayano-Shushenskaya hydroelectric plant is the largest hydroelectric power plant in Russia and one of the most powerful in the world. Construction began in 1968, and production of hydroelectric units continued from 1978 to 1985. In 2000, the station was taken into permanent operation. Among the preconditions of the accident are the following. Hydro turbines have a number of flaws, including the presence of a large zone of non-recommended operation. When a hydro unit falls into this zone, the operation of the turbine occurs with powerful hydraulic shocks in the flow area and a loud sound. Because the no-recommend zone separates the two zones in which the hydroelectric unit is operating, every time there is a significant change in power, the hydroelectric unit has to pass through the no-recommend zone. The hydropower plant was equipped with a group active and reactive power control system, allowing it to automatically change the load on the hydro units depending on the current needs of the power system. For example, in 2009, the second hydropower unit made 232 transitions through the non-recommended zone, spending a total of 46 minutes in the zone. The hydroelectric units are subject to periodic repairs. Hydropower Unit Number 2, which started the accident on August 17, 2009, was last overhauled in 2005, and the average repair before the accident, from January 14 to March 16, 2009. After that, it was put into continuous operation, with the personnel noting increased vibration, which is essentially the starting point, but within the limits of permissible values. Rostekhnadzor analysis later revealed that at the time of the accident, 41 of the 49 studs were broken along the threads due to fatigue fracture. As the hydroelectric unit operated, vibrations increased, and by the end of June 2009, they exceeded the permissible values and continued to grow. The maximum allowable amplitude of vibrations is 160 microns. By 8 a.m. on the day of the tragedy, the turbine cover bearing was vibrating at 600 microns. At the time of the accident, the value reached 840 microns. The chief engineer, according to his job description, was obliged to stop operation of the hydraulic unit to determine the causes of vibration increase, which was not done. Also in 2009, a continuous vibration monitoring system was installed on the second hydro unit, but it was not put into operation and, accordingly, the operating staff and plant management could not take the system indicators into account when making decisions. How did it all happen? History of the tragedy. On August 17, 2009, at 8:12 a.m. the power of the second hydroelectric unit was reduced by automatic instructions. At that time the unit started entering an unrecommended zone, as a result of which the pins of the turbine cover broke off. There was a depressurization and the turbine hull started to flood with an enormous amount of water. The turbine hull and all the rooms under it, the maintenance workshops, and 10 hydroelectric units, 640 megawatts each, were flooded. All except the sixth unit, which was in reserve, were operational. The short circuit in the machinery room led to loss of power supply to the plant, so the automatic control systems of hydroelectric units that are supposed to interrupt their operation in case of emergency did not work. Only hydroelectric unit number 5 was stopped by them before the loss of power. At about 8:30 a.m. 8 people entered the room at the crest of the dam and manually reset the emergency gates for an hour. It was not until 9:30 that water flow to the engine room was stopped. Around 11:40, the spillway gates were opened, and the flow balance through the hydrostructure began to be restored. Then an investigation began, according to the results of which 7 employees of the plant were found guilty of the accident, director of Sayano-Shushenskaya HPP Nikolai Nivolko, received 6 years in minimum security colonies. Chief engineer Andrei Mitrofanov, 6 years in minimum security colonies. His deputies Yevgeny Sherverly and Gennady Nikitenko received 5 years and 5 years and 9 months in a medium security penal colony. Employees of the monitoring service for HPP equipment Alexander Matvienko, Vladimir Beloborodov and Alexander Klukak received a 4.5-year prison sentence without the right to hold managerial posts in the future. All were accused of violating occupational safety rules, which resulted in the death of people by negligence. The verdict was announced only on December 24, 2014. Had it not happened by August 17, 2015, all the perpetrators would have been released due to the expiration of the statute of limitations. Vladimir Beloborodov was released under an amnesty. The same applied to defendants Alexander Matvienko and Alexander Klukak. On May 26, 2015, they were released under an amnesty for the 70th anniversary of the victory in World War II. Rescue work, recovery and damage. Emergency and rescue work began almost immediately after the accident. In search and rescue operations, 2,700 people were involved, 2,000 employees of the HPP, the rest employees of the Siberian Regional Center of Amerkum and Rus Hydro departments, and more than 200 units of equipment were involved. Diving operations rescued 2 people who were lucky enough to be in the air pockets, 2 hours and 15 hours after the accident. On August 20, water started to be pumped out of the engine room, and by August 23 the water removal operations were finished. By that time the death toll was 69 people. The last survivor was found a month later. On the same day, search and rescue operations turned into recovery operations, which resulted in removal of 5,000 cubic meters of debris, pumping out over 277,000 cubic meters of water and collection of 324.2 tons of oil-bearing emulsion in the Yenisei Bay. In addition to the human casualties, the damage from the accident was as follows. Destruction of hydroelectric units number 7 and number 9 as a result of water entering the turbines, destruction of stators and crosses of generators, collapse of the walls and ceilings of the turbine hall of about 2, 3 and 4 hydroelectric units by streams of water and flying debris, blockage of hydroelectric units 3, 4 and 5. Capacity deficit in the Siberian energy system, which resulted in limited power supply to a number of Kuzbis enterprises, shutting down the Syensk and Khakassia aluminum smelters, reduced power supply to the Krasnoyarsk and Novokuznetsk aluminum smelters, as well as the ferroalloy plant in Kemerovo. It took more than 5 years to fully reconstruct the plant. The last hydro unit was launched in November 2014, and the work on the group active and reactive power regulator, the automatic fire suppression system, the automatic fire control and monitoring system was only completed in November 2017. 41 billion rubles were spent only to restore the plant, not including payments to the victims, relatives of the victims and fines for environmental damage. Impact on the environment. About 40 tons of transformer oil was released into the waters of the Yenisei, which spread over 130 kilometers. The peculiarity of this oil is its dioxin content, which tends to persist for a long time in the nature and is included in the first class of hazard of organic compounds. The oil spill resulted in the death of about 400 tons of industrial trout in the farms. These fish had no chance to swim away, unlike those in the river, who were able to escape downstream. It is noteworthy that no water or fish expertise was conducted in the Yenisei after the oil spill was cleaned up. Rospotrебnadzor estimated environmental damage at 469.4 million rubles. In August 2012, the Khakassia Court of Arbitration recovered 110.6 million rubles from Rus Hydro. Violation of requirements, the main cause of the tragedy. Preliminary versions about the cause of the accident proposed that it might be a water hammer, transformer explosion and destruction of the turbine due to a factory defect, neither of which was confirmed. Thus, the root causes of the accident are in bad faith performance of their duties and violations by officials responsible for organizing and ensuring safe operation of equipment, as well as abuse of power by the station management. The catastrophe at the Sayano-Shushenskaya HPP became an example of the negative practice of multiple violations in the field of occupational safety on the part of management, reflected the low responsibility of operating personnel and lack of professionalism of management, which entailed death of workers, environmental pollution and economic consequences. Experts noted the failure of the Russian government's technical policy. The country's safety control system has undergone significant modernization, which was implemented in the years following the tragedy. If you were interested, thank the author by giving me a nickname. And also don't forget to subscribe, so you won't miss even more interesting videos on my channel. Turn on notifications by clicking bell and share this clip with your friends. What else interesting you can add on this video? Write in the comments, it will be interesting to read.